what I've always called the Klan trial, which was the Michael Donald civil trial. The story behind that was Michael Donald was a young man going to college, saving, working at the Mobile Press Register. And his friend, Willie Shaw, told me this. Willie is a good friend who has worked for the city of Fairhope and a fine Mason. But Willie was working at the Press Register with a group of the African Americans that were there. And on that evening that Michael Donald was killed, Willie's car was full. And he told Michael to wait there because he knew what could possibly happen. He said, "You wait there, I'll be back." And so he hurried to drop off several people so he could come back and get Michael, but when he got back there, he was gone. What had happened in the intervening time was the Klan, led by Benny Jack Hayes and his son and Tiger Knowles and one other person, were looking for a nigger to kill. A white woman had married a black man, totally unrelated to any of this, but they were looking for revenge. How dare a woman marry a black man? And they found Michael Donald and they ostensibly asked him directions. Well, how do I get there? And then they pulled a gun on him and got him into the car. They took him to Spanish Fort and virtually beat him to death, shoved him in the trunk, and then they took him back over to Mobile in front of a small apartment building that Benny Jack Hayes owned and hung him from a tree. And Benny Jack Hayes was quoted as saying, "Ain't that a beautiful sight?" when he saw this. And my friend Bob Eddy, who is probably the single best investigator this state's ever produced, very dear friend, explained the whole system. Because the Mobile Police Department did not want to have this be a racist or Klan-based incident. And Bob Eddy was the one that said, "You have got to, this is a Klan-based." And so they tried it as a Klan-based. The Klan at that point, the Mobile chapter, or whatever the hell it is, was run by a Benny Jack Hayes. Now, Benny Jack Hayes was an arsonist. He was a con man. He ran the Klan. Now, the first time the inner workings of the Klan came out that I know of were at this trial. And they had, one of the people they put on the scale was somebody who suffered severely from Down syndrome. And he was taken into the Klan for the purpose of being a whipping boy. Now, they brought the fellow in, and they had all of these rituals and things they would make up, and they were absolutely absurd. But it was deliberate because the Down syndrome young man couldn't remember all these things. And when he would break these silly things they were making up, the rules, they would say, "I'm sorry, we've got to whip you." And they would literally take a whip and they would take turns whipping. And then when it was over, they'd say, "We'll put a little salve on this and we'll give you a Coca-Cola and then try not to do it next time." And they deliberately would make him do it so they could whip him. So we're talking about some pretty low human beings here. But Benny Jack Hayes was illiterate. At one point, one of the prosecutors was grilling him about his lying, which he did often. And he went through 13 different depositions taken by other people that proved he was lying. And the last one before they got to his deposition was, he said, "Well, this is your daughter who said this about you." And he said, "Even she lies sometimes." And he said, "But sir, here's your deposition. Would you please read what you said in your deposition for us?" And he said, "My doctor says I can't read today." And somebody near me said, "Or any other day," because this is just the kind of scum that Benny Jack Hayes was. These Klans people are just filled with hatred for somebody who wasn't like them. And Fairhope suffered from that in the Fairhope was a sundown town, if you know what that means, up into a lot of the 1950s. And that means that if you were black, you were to be out of town by sundown. It was Arthur Manick, God bless him, who had the grocery store in downtown Fairhope, which is across from where Page and Pallet is now at that time. And he was the first to hire African Americans in his store. And he was chastised by a lot of people. And my mother-in-law had someone that came in to do ironing so she could work in an art shop. And she just paid the person who did the African American lady the same that she got for working at the shop, because she'd much rather work in the shop than iron. She paid her what turned out to be a dime more than the people in Point Clear were paying their maids. And so she got riled. These people would come in and say, "How dare you pay more? Because then I'll have to pay Beulah or whomever more money." And she said, "I don't care. This is what I make there, and that's what I'm going to give her on there." So you had that type of mindset, elitism, racist. It's just, and it continues today and still. It's something that we all have to work on.